Hi, I'm Jana Kaysen. I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm going to be talking with you today about telehealth compatible assessments for early intervention, IDEA Part C services. I am a professor in the Auerbach School of Occupational Therapy at Spalding University in Louisville, Kentucky, and I am also a co-founder, CEO, and director of professional development for TelehealthShare. I want to disclose that I, as I mentioned, am affiliated with TelehealthShare, and I'll be highlighting some products associated with TelehealthShare. It is an online marketplace for therapists to buy, sell, and share telehealth-compatible therapy resources, therapy-related materials that have been created by therapists for therapists. And we do have quite a few free items, so I encourage you to check out the website and explore some of those free items as well as some of those that are available for purchase. And I also am going to highlight the YouTube channel, TelehealthShare, where I provide some videos and some publications that I've published in the past. My journey in telehealth began back in 2008. I was, at the time, an early intervention provider. I had provided early intervention services specifically from 2000 to 2016. Back in that early time frame, I was working full-time in early intervention up until about 2004, and then part-time in early intervention from that period onward. At the time that I was providing early intervention services in the full-time capacity, I was really noticing the shortages that were existent in the area that I was providing services for. I was seeing kids that I would travel total 7 counties, and some of those kids lived in very far out rural counties where it would take over an hour, 2 hours to drive out to visit them. And so that would really impact the frequency of services that those children received. And I was getting phone calls from therapists and able to give some good strategies and techniques and therapeutic activities to incorporate in the child's daily activities to address concerns. And I was finding that while that was effective, I thought how much more effective it would be if I could actually see the children through video conferencing or through technology. And I was also at the same time working on my doctoral degree. We were having some of our classes through video conferencing technology. And it just made me think how much of what we do is more problem solving, consulting, helping the client where we're not actually physically needing to touch the client. And I just recognized that there was so much that we could offer and provide through therapy services through technology. So it really spurred in me an interest in that. And then at the same time, shortly thereafter, my daughter, who is pictured on the screen, began receiving early intervention services. She entered the early intervention program at 18 months of age. She was a preemie and ultimately had some speech apraxia, some motor challenges, some sensory issues. And so she started receiving services at 18 months, and we experienced provider shortage. And I was having to take her an hour to a different county where my mom lived so that she could get her services there. And so on the days that I did that, I would drive an hour to drop her off for her access to services, and then I would drive another hour to work, and then of course an hour back and an hour home. So on those days it was 4 hours of commuting just to make sure she could get therapy. And I remember thinking I was so fortunate to have that opportunity because so many families might not have the resources, the economic means, or the flexibility in their work schedule. So all of this combined to really lead me in my early research. And again, I was working on my doctorate degree at the time, and I really focused my energies on developing, piloting telehealth in occupational therapy and in early intervention programs. And since that time, I've worked with a number of other organizations and with states to help implement telehealth within their early intervention programs. As I talk about telehealth, just recognizing that the definition really just that we're providing therapy services through information and communication technologies where the provider and the client are in different physical locations. And we can do that through a number of means. And then, of course, we can talk about live, where you're doing more video conferencing, live interactive therapy services, or asynchronous or store and forward, where you're having recorded information. You're able to engage with the client through observing, watching videos, providing feedback, or through asynchronous evaluation methods. So that brings me to what we're going to talk about today, which is really assessment via telehealth. And that is a common question people ask: how can you do assessments, or what assessments are available that are telehealth compatible? So I wanted to spend a little bit of time in this presentation highlighting that piece of the equation of assessments in early intervention that are telehealth compatible. And again, I mentioned that I am affiliated with TelehealthShare, and we do provide a number of free resources, and this is one of those free resources. It's a infographic that is available for download, and it is a compilation of telehealth compatible assessments in early intervention. So the next few slides, we're going to highlight some of those different assessments. You can see there a screenshot of the website of TelehealthShare, and the arrow is pointing there to a tab that is where you can go directly to access those freebies. And some of those assessments are broken into the categories of norm referenced. So those are going to be assessments that are comparing the child to same age peers. They will give us more data such as age equivalency to peers, standardized scores, percentile ranks, Z-scores, and so forth. And we oftentimes use these norm referenced assessments for qualifying children into early intervention. And so these are going to be highlighting some of the ones that we commonly use in early intervention that are telehealth compatible and will give us the type of data we need for those purposes. So you can see on the screen we have developmental assessment of young children, the Adaptive Behavior Assessment System, 3rd edition, sensory processing measure. There's a preschool version for that upper range of our early intervention children. 2 to 5 is that particular assessment's age range. And if you need a sensory-based assessment for a younger child, the Sensory Profile 2 captures from that birth onward range. The Pediatric Evaluation of Disability Inventory Computer Adapted Test, or PDCAT, just recently became available and is designed to be able to be used in a computerized format, which lends itself to telehealth. And then the Receptive Expressive Emergent Language Test, 3rd edition, REAL 3, is commonly used by speech language pathologists. So these are all norm referenced assessments that will give us that normative data that we need, oftentimes the qualified children. And as you can see from the slide, variety of areas that can be captured within these various assessments. Now, in contrast, we also use a lot of criterion referenced assessments, and these are going to be the ones that are more benchmark, that demonstrate progress, that allow us to see how the child is moving forward to meeting certain criteria. And these assessments, again, are commonly used in early intervention programs, and they lend themselves to telehealth, in part because they rely on caregiver report or on observation. These include the Carolina curriculum, the Hawaii Early Learning Profile, the Assessment, Evaluation, and Programming System for Infants and Children, or AEPS, and then the Rossetti Infant Toddler Language Scale, which again is primarily used by speech language pathologists. The other assessments, though, really round out the areas that we look at and can be incorporated by a variety of team members on our interdisciplinary teams. If you're not already familiar with the publisher's resources of assessments, I encourage you to explore their online evaluation options. So both Pearson, which is one of the large publishers of our assessments, as well as Western Psychological Services and some other publishers, do provide a portal. And the portals are secure and allow us to put in information about the child, the caregiver's email, and then it's going to send them information to go to a link, and that takes them into that secure portal to complete the assessment. And then again, these are oftentimes best for those assessments that are questionnaire-based. And the caregiver can quickly complete those assessments, submit, it sends a cue to the therapist that it's been completed, and then you can go in and score that and then generate your report. So Pearson's online evaluation system is referred to as Q Global. Western Psychological Services is WPS Online Evaluation System. Again, these are HIPAA compliant portals, and they do allow you to use telehealth by putting in the information and then asynchronously administering those assessments that are primarily questionnaire-based. One of the resources that is on the TelehealthShare website that I wanted to highlight that I think is a great resource to help therapists in an early intervention setting is a developmental history for therapy evaluation. And this is a 4-page document that helps the therapist really hone in on what is the developmental history of that child, what's the caregiver's concerns and priorities, what services has that child previously used or been exposed to. It also highlights some of their favorite toys and things that might help inform the therapy process and planning for interventions. And so it's a really nice resource to capture that developmental history, the interests, the priorities of the caregiver, their concerns. And again, it's something that's available for you on that TelehealthShare website. Also, I've provided some videos that I took. These actually are quite old, back before technology was much more sophisticated, but I did put them on the TelehealthShare YouTube channel because I think that they kind of capture that element of what we're really doing often when we're doing telehealth with our early intervention population. And that's that coaching model where we're really supporting and collaborating and working with the caregiver, helping to address concerns that they have for the child and providing therapeutic strategies and cueing and feedback that's going to help them, empower them, and help them to progress that child's skills during those daily activities that are occurring. So these were some video clips that I provided that highlight some different areas, working with a caregiver on some feeding concerns or foods that might promote use of fork, pre-writing, motor play, and so forth. Some of the benefits that I've personally found with a telehealth model in early intervention is that, one, it really promotes best practice. We know that best practice is not us coming in with a bag of toys, sitting and playing with a child for an hour and then leaving, but to really use what's available in the home to promote that coaching model and working with that caregiver so that they are able to really implement those strategies then once we're gone from the home, if we're in a home-based model, or through telehealth. And again, some of the benefits are that it promotes family satisfaction and sustained participation, facilitates that coaching model, which we know the research shows is best practice. It enables a flexible schedule. So if we want to work with a child during their mealtime routine or another routine, it gives us a more flexibility to capture the ability to go into the home through telehealth during those times. Or if we just need to check in for 15 minutes or a 20, 30-minute session or follow up on a concern, we have a lot more flexibility in connecting through telehealth. It also supports teaming and collaboration between EI providers, and it reduces travel time. So it really allows us to be more effective in providing services than oftentimes when we're spending much of our time on the road going between homes of the families. Some intervention ideas and resources for you. One is just thinking about what's available in the home and just endless therapeutic activities that you can find and do. You know, if it's a sorting activity and you're using spoons and forks to sort between the two, or colors of leaves and picking up different leaves outside and sorting those by colors, you can get really creative, and you don't need fancy toys, but you really can use things that are around the home to promote learning. And those will be things that are accessible to that family when you're not there. Also exploring simple crafts for toddlers. There's so many resources now to look up different ideas online, do-it-yourself projects, even homemade Play-Doh and homemade paint with edible products that you don't have to worry if the child were to put that into their mouth. So lots of opportunities to be creative, to use resources that are available in the home. We do have some various resources for you on the TelehealthShare website, as well as on the YouTube channel, that might give you some additional ideas as you start to plan telehealth therapy sessions. Also, there are, as I mentioned, a lot of freebies. So again, check that out. I know one of the things that I provided that I used was a materials checklist. So I like to kind of know what the family has available in the home, just to kind of plan those sessions around those different materials that they might have, toys or just home-based items that might be available that we can incorporate into therapy sessions. So that's one of the resources among many others that are available, and again, available in a freebie section. The other thing is, we're very much mission-driven at TelehealthShare to provide professional development to support therapists in their journey in becoming confident in their ability to provide services through telehealth. So I wanted to highlight we are working to become an AOTA-approved provider for continuing education, and we are also partnering with other organizations that can provide continuing education for speech and language pathologists and physical therapists. So our goal is to really provide both an online marketplace for therapists to access telehealth compatible therapy resources. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, not spending hours of time creating forms and templates or activities, but really creating a place where we can buy, sell, and share high-quality resources that can be used in telehealth sessions, and then to meet the need of therapists continuing education for telehealth-related topics. Also, if you're interested in professional development on this particular topic of early intervention, I did do a 2-hour CE course for sensational brain. The link is there, or you can Google and locate that. And it is ASHA and AOTA approved for 0.2 CEU. So that may be an interest for you. It was Ready, Set, Go, Telehealth and Early Intervention Services, IDEA Part C services. So it was a much more in-depth view of providing telehealth, looking at not only the assessment component, but also intervention, as well as additional resources and supports to help you. If you have any follow-up questions or want to connect with me, I've got my contact information here. My email is jana@telehealthshare.com. You can find us also on the website, Facebook, and again, we do have the TelehealthShare YouTube channel, and it is a great wealth of resources from video-based lectures as well as sample therapy sessions, using items at home series where we're brainstorming different activities you can do with items around the home and so forth. So definitely check that out, and we plan to upload new videos each week. And I thank you for your time, and hopefully this was an informative webinar for you.